If you want to view the internet, simply look around and view it. Any Jupiter at night will do it. Want to be presented live? There's nothing to it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Jupiter at Night. My name is Chris.
My name is Jeremy.
Hey there, J-Man.
Hi.
How are you?
No, how are you?
How am I?
How are you?
Actually, it's been a troubling, trying day, Jeremy.
Why?
It's been tough.
Is it because I was bugging you on chat all day?
No, I've had a realization that perhaps a long, beloved, healthy, mutually beneficial relationship that I have had must come to an end.
Wow.
You know,
and you're going to announce this right here on the internet?
You know, Jeremy, I think I should. I think I should because I think I need to share it out there with everyone.
Okay.
Because I think this is important.
All right.
Okay, here's what happened. Now, Jeremy, you know how sometimes you're in relationships and someone seems like maybe they're doing something that could be because they just didn't mean to, or they didn't think about it right, or maybe they're just being a jerk.
Okay, yeah.
Well, everybody kind of has that internal barometer.
Yeah, sometimes.
When somebody's just a bit of a jerk. And mine's been pegged with the Google J-Man.
Really?
Way into the evil category. This latest hoopla that's come out in these last couple of days that Google will be dropping H.264 support from Chrome pretty much seals the deal for me. I think on the surface, and this is why so many people online are getting it wrong, and I want to touch on this right away to try to fend off some of the comments that I think we'll undoubtedly receive. I think a lot of people have this whole thing wrong. They're seeing it as a Google versus Apple thing, that a lot of people, when they think H.264, think Apple for some reason, even though that's really doesn't make any sense at all.
They have been a public proponent of it at times. So
are a lot of other companies.
Obviously one of the biggest things that pop into everybody's head.
I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. There's other companies that are bigger, not bigger, but that have been using it longer.
You mean Exxon?
But we're talking about this Google dropping H.264 from Chrome, and why I personally think it's evil. And I know you're not totally sold on that concept yet.
Nope, not yet.
And I'm a big fan of standards on the web. I'm a fan of WebM. I want to use it. I've tried using it, but I've got a lot of issues with it. And here's my premise in a nutshell. Google came out and they said to help embrace open standards, well, we think the best thing to do would be to drop H.264 support from the HTML5 video tag. Now, this is a new way.
Take that statement on its own. Actually makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, sure. Because
the whole Chrome project from the beginning has been touted as being open source, open to everybody, free to use.
Sure.
Go make your own things. Have fun.
There's a Chromium open source project that you can go get the source code for that is basically the Chrome browser, missing a few parts. Now, here's what's interesting. If you're promoting this video tag and you want to use standards to promote it, and this is nice because this video tag lets you just put a path to a video in there. You put in a tag.
You're talking about the HTML5
tag, you put it right on a web page, nice and easy. You don't got to worry about Flash and nothing like that. And that is a noble effort that we want to see done. And right now, in Chrome, you can use an OGG video, OGG Theora video, a WebM video, an H.264 video, whatever you want, and it works right in there.
Right.
If you go over to archive.org, for example, and you're in a newer browser, all of those videos are using the HTML5 embed tag.
Right.
And it works real nice. You don't have to worry about Flash at all.
Unless I'm wrong here, every browser, right?
I think even IE now. I think IE was the last to kind of get on board. And I think within IE 8, they have HTML5 support for H.264.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, IE 8 is lacking, and they don't have support for OGG. And they obviously don't have support for WebM. And that's this new format that Google's pushing in place of H.264. Here is where I think things start to go awry if you look at them in a certain way. And that is that it seems like that would be great. Let's get rid of H.264. It's got patents around it. I know that Microsoft's invested in it. I know Apple's invested in it. They've said it's free to use on the web now forever, but they could revoke that at any point.
Well, and there have been cases where they take people to court over patent issues, right?
Sure.
On the H.264?
For distributors, but yeah, for people that are distributing equipment.
It does come up, though.
Yeah,
even if it's not specifically what this is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you can get the spec for H.264 and implement it yourself if you want to. And if you follow the rules, you either pay them or you don't have to pay them, depending on the situation. So Google says, let's use WebM. We don't have to worry about this pay stuff. We don't have to worry about these patent stuff, we think. We haven't been tested in court yet on the patent part, so we don't know for sure about that, but we've done a good job of going out there and trying to get all of them.
Still don't know whether WebM is actually unpatented?
Well, they've made a best... they say they've made a best effort to go out there and own all of the IP around it. But people have looked at it and said, this spec looks exactly in a lot of areas like H.264, like almost line by line in some areas. So, you know, there's still some hints of trouble there.
And the way all of that licensing sometimes works, it doesn't guarantee that if they bought it from someone, it doesn't guarantee that they bought it from someone that properly licensed it.
And they did buy it from someone, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So exactly, that you're trusting that original party. You got it.
Not always smart on the web.
No. I think the main thing that we're accomplishing, though, by Google dropping H.264 native support in the Chrome browser is you're going to have publishers like us and like everybody else that puts content out on the web, they're just going to keep using Flash.
Yeah.
Because now Chrome out of the box ships with WebM support, OGG support, and Flash support. Well, 97, 98...
Flash closed source?
Yeah, there's that, too. Wait a minute. If we're
Do we want to get into that?
Well, we could, yeah.
I mean, because if their whole thing is we're getting away from closed source, this is an open and free project, and yet they're building devices and releasing OSs with embedded Flash baked into it.
And that's a concern of mine because I think that's what Google's actual goal is here, is to push Flash adoption.
But that's exactly against what they're saying, right? I mean, that's...
I know, but if I think, for one, Google makes more money off of Flash. Sure. HTML5 embedded videos, as of right now, there's no system in place for those video ads that pop up. You know those ads when you're like, if you're watching our live stream, sometimes those pop up. If you're watching on YouTube.
We all love ads, right?
Yeah, we all... And I know a lot of you run ad block, etc.
Yeah.
But... That technology does not exist for HTML5 video. Well, guess who populates those little pop-ups?
Is it Google?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're not there to click on those ads because they're not coming up, Google's not making money from that.
And didn't you tell me that video ads are one of their biggest growth markets over the last couple of years?
In a filing with the SEC or something like that more recently, Google said that if we're unable to find a way to continue to increase the monetizing of the videos, which is video content, which is assuming probably YouTube, their biggest cost. If they can't find a way to continue to increase that monetization, the cost of bandwidth would eat them. So they've been developing systems. They've been developing systems to earn more and more money. So now they're projecting to have it be a large revenue source. But they've said in this SEC filing that if the bandwidth costs increase and they don't have a way to monetize it, they might have to make alternative plans.
Okay, let me take us down the rabbit hole one more step then here. If they're worried about the bandwidth cost of videos, isn't WebM, at least the last that I heard of it, actually an inferior
it's
video
debatable.
codec?
It's around H.264, and probably for what YouTube is doing quality-wise, it's probably going to be around their file size.
Their standard 360.
Here's the reality. Google is already in the process of, when we upload like this episode to YouTube, we upload an H.264 720p file, right? They convert that to like the low-def version, the standard def version, the mobile.
The crazy part is they actually have to down-convert it before they'll even put it up and available.
Yeah.
Even though we send them a high-def version.
And they also are already converting it to a WebM version. So they're already doing the work.
All right.
They've been even going back through their back catalog, and they've been re-encoding to WebM. That's not something like we could do.
No.
So, I mean, could you imagine the processing power?
Well, didn't you try? I know this was a long time ago, like 6 months ago, when WebM started to roll out. Didn't you try encoding something? And it was like
slow.
3 times as long.
The encoders are not optimized yet. And the other part of the problem with WebM is there's not a publisher's workflow from recording to editing to output.
Right.
There's not software in there that supports WebM. For example, the output format from editing software is usually called a lossless file. Well, the WebM encoders right now, a lot of them are open source implementations that don't have support for a lot of these lossless codecs. So you can't even encode the output video yet.
So in order to get from the recording to the publishing, you have to
right now. Depending on the encoder you're using, you sometimes have to go to an intermediate file format, which you lose quality. But see, what my point is all of that is too complicated because people are already putting out video in H.264 that works in Flash.
Yeah.
So in order to continue to use Flash, nothing in anyone's workflow has to change.
So
does it cost them anything? Nothing. They just keep using Flash.
No HTML5 video, everybody says, okay, I'll use Flash.
HTML5 video, but just no H.264.
Which is...
It's going to be the same.
Giving up H.264, there's a quote I have in the doc here. The Microsoft public relations dude has said that giving up H.264 is like
giving
no
up
longer supporting English in your development. Which, sure, there's people that can get by without it.
I don't know if everyone realizes. No, not really. There's not a device on the market right now that has hardware accelerated playback for WebM.
Right.
There's a point. There will be something being built in 2011 Q1. Will begin to be manufactured and designed at that point. Not shipping,
so it might not actually hit retail till 2012.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, so there's every single person with a cell phone or an iPod or any other MP3 player out there right now, very likely that if it plays video, it does hardware accelerated H.264 playback. Eventually, everything will have WebM. But you see, we're just not there yet. And until everything can support WebM, it's just locking us into Flash for even longer. In an ideal world, I personally would rather have us all on WebM. If it's equivalent, if it's even near H.264 in quality, if it truly is non-encumbered, if it really is free, and we can distribute it, I'd rather use it. But we're not ever going to get there like this.
Well, and we're not there now. I mean, you kind of have to have the infrastructure in place before you take the plunge.
Safari, which ships by default on the Mac, will not support WebM, but it will support H.264. Internet Explorer, which ships by default on Windows 7, does not support WebM, but it will support and does support H.264.
Now,
You're just stuck in a spot here.
A little bit of devil's advocate here. Firefox, which is a bigger seller than Chrome, actually does not support H.264 out of the box. Well, but a larger, more a bigger user base.
And that's totally cool.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, you didn't take it away.
Now,
it's a bait and switch with Google.
It is. Not only that, but Google is also doing this whole talking out both sides of their mouth thing with the including of the Flash.
Exactly.
I mean, Firefox doesn't do that. You have to download a separate add-on, the codecs, to install into your browser.
It's hypocritical.
Absolutely.
And it's just because Google... The other thing is if ads become big in video, and in one of the things that advertisers are pushing publishers like us to do is come up with a system where we could actually take a pause right now. We'll be right back. And they dynamically insert a video ad right then and there. Whatever the keywords of that video trigger, we don't roll it. It's just, and we're back. And there's like this gap that we leave in there. And they want to.
Can we not do that?
I know. That's why we're not doing it. But they're trying to get you to do it. And Google wants to sell that on their AdWords self-ad serve platform. And if they're selling ads and they're generating revenue via these video ads, I'm sure they want to control that video codec.
Well, not only that,
WebM is that codec.
Like you said, in HTML5 right now, there's no layering, so you might need that layer to pop up and play the second video on top of it.
You do now, today. Yeah, you need Flash. But eventually, I'm sure technology-wise, they could overcome that.
So what it comes down to is basically it's either a move to get us encumbered by Flash for even longer, which I kind of doubt that. I think that's going to be one of the results of this, though. I think you're right on that.
I know.
Because users are lazy. I mean, I'm not saying that as an insult. It's just the truth. Consumers want the easiest route to their goods.
They've already got Flash. Their PC ships with Flash.
Right. So we're going to end up being tied down to Flash, which everybody knows is not a great platform.
Well, here's the thing.
We're just now getting to the point where hardware can reliably keep up with Flash.
They're just getting to hardware acceleration. Flash still doesn't run great on mobile. And the other reality about Flash, and this is public information, if you go over to Firefox, Mozilla.org's bug tracker, and you look at the top 100 common causes of crashes for Firefox, it's all Flash.
Wow.
Apple has said the same thing about Safari. We don't know what the numbers are with Chrome, but it was implied that when they made their deal with Adobe to bring Chrome in, to bring Flash into Chrome, it was because they were having so many integration issues and so many crashes
that they just needed Adobe to take over,
and people weren't updating the security. The other issue with Flash is security.
Yeah.
Flash has a lot of amazing features, but it's proprietary. It's got these security issues. It's got these crash issues, and now we're being locked into it. It currently has resource limitations. I don't know if that's going to get any better.
Not for mobile devices anytime
I have
soon.
a lot of issues with Apple, but what I don't like is that everybody's making this whole H.264 thing an Apple issue. If anything, Apple's actually helping us out the most with this just by getting us off of Flash with their iDevices.
Right.
Now, do we want to go to H.264? I don't know. But the web won't move to WebM.
Not until we have the infrastructure to support the sudden move.
Yeah. I mean,
and then even then, for a while, it's got to be an option, and people have to be shown that the option is superior.
You've got to get it down to where, these little system on a chip chips have it integrated in, so that way they can put it in TiVos, they can put it in, these little media streaming boxes. They can put a chip in an Android phone. You've got to be there, and they've got to be shipping so they're cheap enough. We've got to be 2 years off before WebM is really, really actually end user supportable. We're not even there for the encoders yet, people. We can't even properly encode the video. At least not normal people that don't know FFmpeg on the command line. I mean, it's just too soon. We're not ready yet. We need to do it more slowly.
Now, I think that there's also a point that we kind of glossed over a few times in this show, that it looks like this might actually be entirely a financial decision.
Yeah.
That it comes down to their supporting of YouTube. I mean, Google owns YouTube now, right?
Yeah.
Am I right on that?
You're absolutely right on that.
And so they have to do all the hosting of all the videos and everything. And if they can cut down on their cycles by not having to encode into one more format and just stick to WebM, and then...
I don't think that's likely to happen, though.
And, well, if they give up on H.264...
But Chrome, that would only work for... I guess it would work for Chrome and Firefox users. But anyone in Safari, or 70% of the users, or 60% of the users in Internet Explorer wouldn't work for.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to do H.264.
You
can't lop off 65% of the market.
That would be a dumb move. But isn't this a dumb move? Just doing this entirely?
But they're not gonna stop. This is gonna be the most ass backwards thing about Google. Is they're so big now. Will we see the Android project remove H.264? Probably not, because it would be a platform killer. Streaming content is delivered in H.264. Even if it's inside Flash, it's still H.264 in that Flash. So they got to leave it in Android. If they want to compete with the iPhone, you got to. You want to compete with Windows Phone 7, you got to. All right, so it's not going from there. They're going to have to keep doing it on YouTube to support 65% of the market. All right, so it's not going away from there.
Okay.
Right? And they're not going to take it off anything else on their Google site because they want to sell ads, so they're going to leave it in there for their ad system. So we're not really getting away from that, and we're not getting away from H.264 anywhere. We're just going to have a mix now that's never going to be fully implemented.
Now, do you think that this might actually negatively impact Chrome's future sales?
No.
No?
Not sales. Downloads.
Well, yeah, they're not sales.
No.
You don't think so?
Because WebM isn't going to matter. Not to, to our audience it will, but not to the general public. So the fact that, because it's just the content's going to be delivered in Flash, the fact that it can play WebM is a non-factor.
That's kind of the insult to injury, isn't it? They can do this kind of stuff, and most people don't care.
Yeah.
But for the people that it actually affects, like video producers, it's just got us all up in arms and all hot and bothered over it. Yeah. Now, you guys are actually seeing us after an entire day of chatting this out and kind of coming down off the rage storm.
Down. Yeah. Because I realized what finally calmed me down is the ideal. If I was just an idealist, I would say, oh man, I really do want WebM.
Yeah.
I want that. I want that to take off, but I just don't see it.
Because who doesn't like freedom, Chris?
Yeah.
Right.
I do. I like not worrying about it. As a publisher, I would be so scared if the MPEG LA LLC came around and said, hey, Jupiter Broadcasting, we need to see your RSS subscribers, and we want you to pay us a royalty for every person that's in that RSS subscription list.
So if we're not on the air tomorrow, you'll know why.
But they've come out and said they're not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I'm not even saying that it has to be H.264. I'm just saying all we're doing is guaranteeing Flash at this point.
Yeah.
So thanks, Google, for handing the web over to Flash.
Way to not be evil.
And don't you think it just kind of is a coincidence that Adobe says, we're gonna implement WebM support in Flash so you can play back WebM through Flash Player? Because they don't give a crap. It's still Flash at the end of the day.
But they've got this little tight. They're in bed with Google.
They're in with Google on this Chrome deal. They're in with Google on this WebM stuff.
Yeah.
And they're both up against Apple. And if people stop using H.264 even a little bit, that hurts Apple. And that's why I think people make it a Google-Apple battle. But it's not about that. It's about ad revenue.
It is.
It's all about ad revenue.
It's all about money. It's all about their bottom line. And this is the best way to cut their costs.
And the evil part of it all, the part that makes me hurt on the inside, and really where my anger from today came from, is that they bang this open web standards drum. We're doing it for the open web. open source, open standards, but the reality is you're doing it for ad revenue, you jerks. And you're playing us like fools, and you're making us get in these religious debates so that way we don't actually realize that you're just lining your pockets like every other multi-billion-dollar corporation has to do. Totally what the situation is here.
Yeah.
And it's not evil until you start claiming it's just because you're open. That's the part that makes it evil, right?
Yes. No,
You
I
earning
totally
revenue,
agree.
good on you. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You coming up with a new codec that's awesome and free, Google, that's great. But you playing us like fools is evil because
you're making money
it's
off of this.
premeditated.
Yeah.
It's strategic. Mm-hmm. I hate that.
And it's not only making us trying to make us feel good about what they're doing, but making us feel good about the fact that they're lining their pockets.
Yeah. Like to get us to be their religious crusaders. That way we go to the doors of the vendors and beat them down for WebM support because we want to save the web from H.264.
And start letter writing campaigns to Michael that you need to get off of H.264.
I mean, it's like the same crap that they do all over the place. I don't want to get into it with Android, but I have this. I'm an Android user. I love Android, but I often feel like Android beats this open source. Google beats the Android open source drum constantly. Meanwhile, it keeps all of their code behind closed doors until they want to blow us away with it. And that just does not feel open either. But I won't get into that. I'm just going to focus on this tonight. That's my soapbox.
On a slightly more humorous note, I actually included a link in our show notes to something that you sent me earlier today that was a parody of this H.264 that was saying that Google is... I fell for it at first. I thought it was an actual Chrome announcement that said
this actually came from the Microsoft developer blog.
Whoa.
Can you believe that?
It said that Chrome was going to no longer support the JPEG image format, which is like 99.9999% of images on the internet.
Yeah, but they were going to go for a new open image format called like WebP or something like that.
That they like.
Yeah.
It's a great little
it is kind of like that, though. People don't even know how much H.264 is used. Everywhere. If you watch cable TV, you're probably getting some very different H.264
TV, like
satellite
100%?
TV. Yeah, dude, it's been for years. I mean, H.264 is in absolutely everything. You watch Blu-rays, you're watching a variant. AVC HD is based on H.264. Blu-ray. This episode, if you watch this, it is in H.264.
We gotcha.
Now, we do release for some of our shows OGG Theora versions, but the reality is...
It's like less than 10% of your overall audience.
It's less than 1%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's less than 1%. I only do it as a commitment to supporting open standards.
Yeah.
Now, the audio is like 10%. But the video, OGG Theora...
I'm sorry, that's what I thought you were talking about.
The audio is like 10%.
Okay.
But the video is less than 1%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's atrocious. And that's what's going to happen with WebM. As somebody who's been putting video out now on the web for like 5 years combined or longer now, and in different avenues, not just to Jupiter Broadcasting, I can tell you people download H.264 and MP3.
Yeah. Just like they look at their images in JPEG format.
I've got to put close to, I don't know how many episodes out, and I can just tell you these are the numbers.
Well, this is our 77th of this show.
Of just this show, yeah.
And this show hasn't been around forever.
Although I still smack my microphone like a noob, so there you go. All right, everyone. Well, hopefully this wasn't too heavy for you. We'd love to hear your thoughts. I was a little soapboxy tonight, but don't let that deter you from leaving us a comment, or we always encourage you to join live, because I had an idea.
What?
What do you think about, like, in one of these future weeks, doing a movie night?
Are you asking me to look into the future?
And like we'll pick a movie Tuesday, we'll announce it, and then by Thursday we review it, maybe give people a chance to have watched it.
Okay.
So Thursday night's episode, of course, people could always just hang on to watch that episode till they got a chance. And maybe Thursday we could get people in the chat room and they call in with their reviews or chat with their reviews.
I'm up for anything that gets our live audience more involved.
That's what I want to do. Yeah. So we're going to maybe think of some way to do a live movie night. We'll work out the details and announce it in a future episode of Jupiter Night.
Speaking of movie night, tomorrow's going to be our Thursday show. We don't have the content planned yet, though.
No, usually we do by now, but I guess we'll
have to see what's coming out this weekend.
Yeah. Maybe there's something in the works.
But it's usually movie night, so tune in for a much more fun edition of Jupiter at Night.
And join us live for that over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/live at 8 p.m. Pacific, and you can convert that to your time zone. We have a handy converter for that.
All right,
everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching tonight's episode of Jupiter at Night, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Google is evil.